started, I'd like to introduce the 2020 President-elect and 2021 President for C.A.R, Mr. Dave Walsh, and he's going to give some market stats and updates to everyone. So again, thank you for joining. And Dave, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. Oops, yeah, I'm okay, yeah, good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you some very timely market information. You almost have to be living under a rock in Santa Clara County to not see the markets turned around. So this was newsworthy really 30 days ago, or really even 2 weeks ago. Even the Mercury News came out with an article yesterday saying the housing markets picked up in Santa Clara County. I'm going to give you some statistics behind the data, stuff that's really current, really timely. Hopefully you take this message out to all of your clients, all the people that you know in the marketplace, because this is hot off the press type stuff. It's not 60 days ago, it's current, it's right now, and the market is, as you know, on fire. So I'm going to give you some data behind that. Hopefully you can use this stuff in your presentations. You know, it's really designed to just reinforce what we already know, how strong we are. And by the way, as an intro, as a point of intro, one of the things that I do at the state level is I have conference calls up and down the state. In fact, I just literally finished another Zoom cast with the top 300 brokers in the state. And we talk about the strength of the marketplaces in California. And just suffice it to say, there's no place like here. I mean, Santa Clara County is so strong. It's so positive right now. And we're not out of the woods. I'm not trying to paint the picture that everything's perfect, but understand that when you hear those reports, national housing reports, even state housing reports, they're a little guarded. They aren't talking about really the things that we're talking about here, and I will be talking about to you guys. So again, just know that we are incredibly blessed to be realtors working a marketplace like Santa Clara County and the Peninsula marketplace, by the way, in fact. So let me share with you some data. If you've not seen one of my reports before, I'll just give you a quick introduction to kind of show you how I look at things and how I share it. So this is what I call my CBVA report. It's just a weekly report that I do, and I've done it for 20 plus years. So I just subtracted data into our marketplace forever. So this is a 7-day change, right? I did my last report on Sunday.
Real quick, can you switch screens? We see your screen seeing us.
Okay, so let's see, what have I done here?
Actually, there it is. Sorry.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, so let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger too, by the way. Oh, wrong way. All right, so that helps a little bit too. All right, so again, this is a weekly report. It's as of Sunday, right? So here's a generic information on it. 1,487 unsold properties countywide as of that date. That's single families and PUDs combined. I don't really track the other stuff. This is just, you know, as a point of reference for you if you've not seen my report. So we went up 38 properties last week. That's the smallest increase in available supply that we have probably seen. Well, quite frankly, we have seen probably all year long. So in other words, what that is more of a reflection of is whatever you're bringing to the market, we're finding buyers for. So the absorption rate's very fast right now. When I get to the days on market, you're going to see how fast it is. You know how fast it is. But this is just more data showing that, right? So what's our normal number? Probably more like 100, right? So in other words, we're clearly selling a lot of properties right now. The pendings are rising really fast. This is probably, and again, I didn't go all the way back to the beginning of the year, but the largest single week of increase in pendings as well. So that doesn't mean 116 properties sold last week. It actually just means the differential has gone up 116 units. So our 30-day change, the overall supply has increased 13% in the last 30 days. Pendings are up 52%. Again, this is just repeating what I've already told you, which you already know. The market is red hot and it's on fire. This date last year, just more of a point of reference for anybody that listens to what I've talked for a long point of time. I like to actually look backwards as well. So we were 1,915 houses for sale at this point in time last year. So clearly it's a whole different market. We know it's a different marketplace, but again, that's just kind of more evidence how strong our market is. And by the way, I get asked this question all the time. Are there a lot of sellers sitting on the sidelines, right? So come March 16th, when we first kind of started the shelter in place in Santa Clara County, a lot of sellers within the next 2 weeks pulled their inventory off the market. They put it into a withdrawn status or even just a canceled status. And if you read through those listings, as I did, as they were being pulled off, a vast majority of those sellers or wannabe sellers had comments in them saying, as soon as COVID-19 subsides, or if there's a change in shelter in place, whatever it happens to be, we're coming back to the marketplace, right? This is 10 weeks ago, so it's hard for us to remember that it's been that long, but the reality is there's a lot of sellers sitting on the sidelines. So our inventory dropped to like 800 houses overnight. We went from just over 1,000, we pulled 200 houses off 1 week, and like another 100 off the next week. Bottom line is about 300 houses came off. I'm not saying all of those people have come back, but I do believe a vast majority of them have already returned to the marketplace. So what am I trying to say here? One of the issues that people say, well, as soon as everybody who's pulled off comes back to the marketplace, there'll be a flood of available supply, and the market's going to collapse, or prices will become soft. I'm sorry, I don't see that. I think it's almost all gone. I don't have scientific evidence behind it. I just read the data a lot, right? So I pay a lot of attention to what our MLS is reporting and things like that. So I believe that this 1487 is pretty close to our maximum supply that we're seeing as available properties right now. In other words, we're not anywhere near 1,915. Okay, so we may be higher than that with people wanting to come to the marketplace. I just don't see data of it, right? Okay, so our pendings time last year, 1,264. So we're not that far from our pending level of last year. So stop and think about that for a second. What we've gone through in the last 11 weeks, you guys, since March 16th, has been like something we've never done before. We've never had these types of issues to deal with before. Yet, we were able, through buyer demand, seller shortage, and incredibly talented real estate professionals that work our marketplace, come together and figure out ways to still put homes under contract. Again, I'm not saying that we're special, although I do think we're special. I think the reality is that I think we know what we're doing here, and we know how to kind of match buyers and sellers in a marketplace that possibly a lot of other areas of the state, or possibly even areas of the nation, haven't been able to do yet. So again, we're not far from where we were with no restrictions of 2019. Enough said on that. So here's our individual marketplaces. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of depth because I want to get to the charts at the end. But so here we are. South County has 138 properties as of Sunday. That's down 9. South County hit a high of about 174 about the second week of COVID-19. So figure the first week of April. And then they started to recede. South County's red hot. They're pulling in. They're selling properties under contract. So let me switch to the far side of this column and tell you what that means if you've not seen this presentation before. So we had 43 sales in the South County Area 1 last week, last 7 days. 43 properties went under contract. The number below that, the 14 that's highlighted in green, is a pre-COVID-19 pace. In other words, I went back and I pulled the last week of February and the last 2 weeks of February, the first 2 weeks of March, and I said, great, what would our spring market look like prior to COVID-19, so I can have a base, so I can have a measure to see how bad our marketplace got, because quite frankly, my suspicion was we were going to stumble like everybody was telling us, that the housing market would go completely flat. And I kind of wanted to have data points to be able to reflect on and say, well, we were selling 14 houses a week pre-COVID-19 in the heat of our spring marketplace. Look what we're doing now, 43 properties a week. So we've just blown by that 4-week average, and we had 43 sales last week. And by the way, the week before that in South County, 37. Week before that in South County, 37 again. When I say South County's been hot, it's really been hot, right? So whatever the realtors are doing down there, they're doing it well. They're bringing good inventory, well priced to the marketplace, and buyers are responding accordingly. You're going to see the same thing mirrored over and over again in most of the areas of our valley. And I'm going to highlight some of the differences, but suffice it to say, this is just more data that you can share with your clients. Santa Teresa, 5 sales last week. Clearly that's better than 3, but it's not huge because Santa Teresa, quite frankly, is not a huge marketplace. There were 10 for sale last week. There's 7 for sale this week. So bottom line is that we don't get much difference in Santa Teresa. But again, if it's priced correctly in Santa Teresa, you're going to find a buyer. Evergreen, 19 sales, tripled the 4-week average. And I can't highlight enough. When we came out of the gate, week 1 of COVID-19, so that would be 3/16 to whatever 7 days from that was, right? So that first week, we stumbled. I'm just being very honest. We were doing 1s and 2s in most of these marketplaces, right? We may have done 4 in South County as an example, right? Because we didn't know what we were faced with. Buyers didn't know what to do. Agents didn't know what to do. All we knew is that we had people that must sell houses. We just didn't know how we could put them together. So when you start seeing, 19 sales in the month of in the week of last week for Evergreen, clearly this is a huge turnaround in buyer confidence, buyer attitude, seller confidence about the marketplace. If sellers weren't getting their prices they were asking, they wouldn't be coming back to the marketplace, right? So that's why I say this is just healthy. Any way you look at it, Milpitas sitting at 14 sales. They almost quadrupled their 4-week average. And by the way, that 4-week average is a genuine average. I went and I really truly tried to say, this is our normal marketplace if we didn't have any issues. And so when I show you those 14 sales, that's how far past the norm we've blown. Okay, Santa Clara 20, Santa Clara and Central San Jose, 2 bellwether marketplaces. Never in a single week in the entire 11 or 12 weeks of COVID-19 did they underperform their given statistics. So Santa Clara was always above 10. It's like they did not know there was a COVID-19 issue. They did not know you could not sell properties. Santa Clara, Central San Jose, and Sunnyvale, which is going to be the story farther down the charts. Those are red hot markets, stayed red hot all the way along, and were just phenomenal. So again, really strong marketplaces. Willow Glen, 10 sales. Willow Glen last week had 18 sales, but Willow Glen had been struggling. There was almost every week prior to the last maybe 3 weeks, Willow Glen underperformed, right? So they were less than 7 for virtually every week. Their inventory was starting to climb. You can see last week they added 10 new listings as well. So they went up 10 to 78. But Willow Glen has come alive, and Willow Glen has had really consistent, for almost 4 weeks now, really consistent sales. I think they're out of the woods, and they're going to continue to accelerate because, as we all know, that's a very strong market. Blossom Valley, 20 sales last week, 18 sales the week before that. It's, every man's marketplace in Blossom Valley, what we consider affordable housing in Santa Clara County, reasonable school districts, reasonable commutes. So very popular marketplace, very strong, tripled over doubled their 4-week average. Almaden Valley, 12. This is one of the first weeks I've been able to brag about Almaden Valley, right? So they have been struggling. It's been onesie, twosies, 3s, and maybe 4 occasionally in their first 8 weeks of the COVID-19 shelter in place. And then all of a sudden, Almaden Valley's taken off. 12 is the strongest week of sales Almaden Valley has had all year long. 1 week doesn't make a marketplace, but guess what? I think, as you're seeing, every one of these is going in the right direction. Look at Cambrian, 26 sales last week. I mean, if you have a listing in Cambrian and it's not sold, there's clearly something wrong, right, with pricing. I think this is, again, one of those really strong everyman market type places where there's going to be a buyer and it's considered affordable property. So their norm is 7. They did 26 sales. Campbell, 11. Again, still a very hot marketplace. 11's actually slightly below what Campbell's been averaging. They're probably averaging more like 12 to 14 sales. Been very strong. But again, 11's not a bad showing. Las Gatos, 10 sales. Now, Las Gatos only ever averaged 6 sales a week. It's expensive real estate. We all know that. But again, for them to do 10 was pretty outstanding. That's probably their strongest week of the 12 weeks of shelter in place. Almost 12 weeks of shelter in place. So they responded. Look at Saratoga, 10 sales. Saratoga has never, well, shouldn't say never. Saratoga did not have, in the entire 12 weeks of shelter in place, maybe 1 week above 3. So they were 1s. They had a couple of weeks where they sold nothing. 2s, 3s, 3 was a high for them for a long time, then 10. So again, if this is not evidence that our marketplace is strong and returned to our more normal levels, I don't know what I can tell you. Cupertino sitting 11, been strong. You know the Cupertino market's always strong anyway. Sunnyvale, again, you know Sunnyvale, it's red hot. It's been red hot. It's going to continue to be red hot. I don't see anything going to slow Sunnyvale down. 14 is actually a low for, not a low, one of the lower numbers for Sunnyvale. They have done, I think, 18 and 20 in the past. But again, just very strong. Their inventory is only 39. Sunnyvale is a fairly large geographic area, and to only have 39 properties for sale tells you pretty much everything you need to know. Mountain View sitting at 11. Mountain View and Palo Alto, 11 and 3 respectively. Mountain View, this is the strongest Mountain View has been. Mountain View is, again, expensive real estate, as is Palo Alto, clearly, right? Mountain View is the only market, I'm sorry, Palo Alto is the only market that underperformed last week, by the way. And again, that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's incredibly expensive real estate. And they only made 3 sales last week. Last week, I believe, the week before that, I believe, was somewhere around 4, maybe 5. I don't think Palo Alto has had but 1 week, maybe, that they surpassed their 5 average sales. So, but again, it's expensive real estate. That's to be understood. So here's our more of the raw data. So we have 46.2% of our single families under contract and 36.7 of our PUDs, available supply under contract. So what do those two numbers measure? Well, it kind of tells me the pace of what we're doing. In the heyday, and anybody's been around in the last 5 years, and you've tracked my numbers before, we've been running in the 50s and 60s percentage-wise of homes under contract. When we had COVID-19 introduced, shelter in place, we dropped fairly dramatically, as you would imagine, with a percentage of homes going under contract. We were down in the 30s. We didn't hit the 20s in either of those numbers, but the fact of life was we were a lot lower than we currently are today. And for those that have been around a long time, like I have, if you flashed back to 2008, when I was president of the association, I was bragging when we got to 15% in any of our communities, right? So that's a long time ago, and 46% is still an incredibly strong marketplace. Will we get to 50? We'll be to 50 really quick here. And again, just my opinion, I think we're gonna continue to have a red hot market, really, quite frankly, through the balance of the year. So that's your raw data on that. Last week it was 44%. So that's a 2 percentage point uptick in both of those classes in a single week. So here's some data that I get excited about. So our available supply on the market, unsold, 990. If you go back 8 or 10 or 12 weeks ago, these numbers have continually increased, as you would have expected them to do in the spring market, right? We know our inventory comes to the market in the spring, and historically done so for the past, 20 years, whatever, 30 years, quite frankly, in Santa Clara County. So you'd expect our inventory to climb. It hasn't climbed at the hellacious pace it possibly would have if we had not had the bumpers or the slowdown of COVID-19. I mean, if you were listening to me in the beginning of the year, I was projecting one of our best years ever in Santa Clara County because of the energy, the economy, the ridiculously unbelievably low interest rates, and everything was going the right direction from all intents and purposes until we fell off a cliff with COVID-19. So the answer is, of course, if we didn't have this parameters, would we be looking at, probably much lower numbers all the way across the board? Yeah, because everything would have been sold. We would have been kind of more like 2017. Anyway, bottom line is it's still good. New sales. This is a very important number to look at. 288 sales, 288 properties put under contract last week alone. If you look at this, and as by comparison's sake, week 1 of COVID-19, we did 91 sales. Week 2 of COVID-19, we did 94 sales. So we have ramped up every week since that. So I predicted back then this was a temporary slowdown to our marketplace. It's being proven true. You're seeing statistics proving that. So when your buyers come to you and say, "Hey, I don't want to move forward because I'm not confident the home I purchased is the right price, and I told you not to let them back out, they would regret it." This is why, because there's a lot of talk back then. The market was going to collapse. Prices were going to go back to 2008 and 9 and 10 levels, and there were going to be bargains in the street, and everybody be able to cherry pick the best deals. Not there, wasn't going to happen, and hopefully you were able to keep your deals together. A stat I saw just yesterday said 17%, no, 17 more than that, 23% of transactions statewide were falling apart in the beginning. That number is abated statewide to about maybe 17%. I think in Santa Clara County, we never hit those kind of numbers. I'm going to think it was between right around 10% of transactions were falling apart because buyers were getting cold feet and backing out. So again, strength of marketplace, once again, I just show withdrawals because I'm to show you that it's a far cry from the 200 that we saw at the beginning of the pandemic and when people were starting to panic. We've had a very consistent, normal amount of properties that are pulled off the market, for whatever reason, by the way. Average daily sales, 41.1. Our average daily sale when so the first week of March, right about, let's say the 10th of March as a parameter, we were averaging 29.8 sales a week, right? So heyday of the spring, rock solid marketplace. Look at that, we're 41, so we're well beyond that. Again, I can't say it enough, the same thing. Vacant properties on the MLS, for the longest time I tracked this number because we were only allowed to show vacant properties, right? That's all gone by the wayside. We now are allowed to show owner-occupied, but still, for those people that don't want to go through people's owner-occupied properties because they're nervous about that buying process, there's 679 of them in the marketplace that are vacant, and they can show those. Okay, so here's the data, which I think gets exciting. We've put 2,104 properties under contract since the beginning of COVID-19, back to March 16th, okay, 2,104 properties. Almost 50% of them were owner-occupied, almost 50% of them were vacant, right? So like I said, all the way along, we've been kind of figuring out creative ways for you guys to put homes into contract, even though they were owner-occupied. This data supports that. But look at the strength of this. How many properties are priced over 5 million, over 7 million? 5. How many were 5 and 7 million? 14. Between 3 and 5 million, 83. Between 2 to 3 million, 248. So by everybody's understanding of Silicon Valley housing prices, quite frankly, the majority, what's our median sales price as of yesterday? It was like 1.3 million. So we were able to put basically, what is this, 350 houses under contract above $2 million in the middle of the weirdest, most bizarre set of circumstances in Silicon Valley I have ever seen in my 40 years of selling houses, right? So clearly, you guys have done it. You've been outstanding, and you're able to sell very expensive real estate. Now, why do I bring this up? And this is what you need to get out to your clients. These are not all cash transactions. There was financing in the vast majority of these things. People were going out and signing up for $4 million mortgages, $3 million, $2 million mortgages to get these high-end properties, or even greater, quite frankly. Why would they do that if they didn't have confidence in their job, in the housing values of Silicon Valley, and the security of our overall housing marketplace? They wouldn't. They would be silly to, but they were still doing it. So people that felt very confident in the security of their employment, of their employers surviving all of this, and in other words, there was never a loss of confidence in housing values in the selling side and the buying side in Silicon Valley. And then 1,754 properties were sold below $2 million, which makes sense with the grand scheme of our pricing in Santa Clara County. But again, this is just to emphasize the lack of confidence never came here. It may have come to Bakersfield. It may have come to other Central Valley. It may have come to Southern California. It may have come to some other areas of the nation. It just never hit us. We were always strong. And by the way, just as comparison, because I'm in Compass, we had a managers meeting yesterday, so they were talking about the peninsula. You think we're hot? The peninsula is insane, right? So the Menlo Atherton office of Compass last week, and the managers, they all report kind of what's happening in the marketplace. They put 5 sales, you guys, 5 sales together over $20 million last week. So think about that. Again, that's how confident our 2 communities, San Mateo County, the Peninsula, Santa Clara County are. And that's just one of the offices. There were $14 million sales in Los Altos Hills. There were $7 million sales, 3 $7 million sales in our Los Gatos office. So again, I just can't say it strongly enough. This is an incredible market, and hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of it. A couple quick charts, then I'll shut up. This is Santa Clara County wide. Look at April, because April is the month we all went through. Clearly pre-COVID, I mean post-COVID, in other words, COVID was here, all the restrictions were here, sellers were still getting county-wide an average of 102% of asking price, and days on market were 17, right? Look backwards, look at this chart. This is a 15-month chart. What were we getting in July, August, September, October? Last year, about 97% on average. Again, every community was different, but look how strong our spring market started out, and it still remains strong. Individual areas, Blossom Valley, 106% of asking price, 13 days on market. Rose Garden, Central San Jose, look at it, 102, 102, 102, and continual decline in days on market. I don't make the statistics up. I just show them to you, right? Sunnyvale, 108%, 105%, 10 days on market, right? So again, when your clients are saying, I'm not going to offer that price, it'll never sell for that. Well, guess what it is? And then some. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here. I realize that. Santa Clara, 104, 107, 105. Campbell, 103, 105, 104. 13 days on market. Cambrian, I already talked about what a rock star Cambrian is. 104, 107, 105, and 7 days on market. Willow Glen, a little bit softer, right? But look at Willow Glen going backwards, you guys. You know, Willow Glen's always been fairly strong, but look how strong it's gotten recently, right? Again, confidence, right? Very strong marketplace. And that is your market update. And I will shut up and let's go forward.
All right, Dave, thank you. That was wonderful. I think that the velocity there is phenomenal. I mean, I don't know about the rest of the panelists here. We'll be talking to them soon, what they've been feeling, but I can definitely attest that I've been feeling the market turning around over the last few weeks. And so your numbers were excellent. It really just shows that the realtors are getting out there. The buyers are out there. They're buying, they're making offers. I'm seeing multiple offers as well, and putting more and more listings into contract. So I'm really happy to see that. We've got a couple of quick questions for you, Dave, before we turn it over to our panelist part of the session here today. A couple questions came in. What do you think, what do you predict as we head through the summer and into fall? You made a comment, you thought it would be red hot throughout the rest of the year. Can you comment on what you think the trends will be as we head through summer and fall?
Okay, I think we're going to have a very strong, I think the only thing that we stumbled on was going to be the month of April. I think May numbers are already showing a rebound completely. I mean, even really the end of March was a little bit of a stumble. So we may have taken 4 weeks, 5 weeks off in there and delayed our spring by 5 or 6 weeks. But I do believe that even if we didn't have COVID-19, we were going to have a rock star of a year in 2020. And I think you're going to see that continue. Why? Because of interest rates. Let's be honest. I mean, the report is what, 3.13% on interest rates right now. They're saying in the report, I was involved at C.A.R yesterday with an economic report. They're saying it's going to go lower, right? I mean, they're saying that we're going to see by the end of year possibly 3%, right? So no, in fact, that 3% is going to carry through 2021 in the economists' projections I was seeing last year. So you think 2020 is a good year? You guys, 2021, again, provided we don't end up with this mess again, is going to be even better than 2020. So your clients should be doing, I can't make this clear enough. If your clients are on the sidelines at all right now, hoping they're going to get a better deal at some point in the future, I just don't see data supporting that. The demand is way too high for the small amount of properties that we have bringing to the marketplace. What could stop us? Here's what could stop us. Okay, we could go back to 2017. Remember 2017 when there was 300 houses for sale countywide? We simply can't convince sellers to sell anymore because the marketplace is accelerating so fast. Everyone was holding their inventory at that point in time, and that would kill our marketplace, because if you don't have anything to sell, you simply can't sell properties, right? So that's the only caveat, is if we all of a sudden everybody says, well, I'm not going to sell again because 2021 is going to be better. That would stop it.
And Dave, one more question for you. So what about foreclosures. Some people think that with unemployment on the rise and a lot of people being out of work, that there may be an increase in the defaults and that potentially there could be an acceleration of foreclosures maybe later 2021. What do you say to that?
Okay, so I've seen the report. There was a video that was circulating. I actually watched it. It got sent to me by another realtor out of state. I'm sorry, it just doesn't apply to us. I can tell you simply, I shouldn't say there's not going to be, because I don't know what the future holds, but the equity growth in the past 5 years in Santa Clara County has been like no other place in the nation. If you go into foreclosure right now, the chances are you've got, I can't explain it. You already have equity, so why would you walk from that kind of equity? I just don't see REOs coming back. I don't even see short sales coming back, you guys. Not in our marketplace, even if there's been unemployment in Santa Clara County. Now, we went from 2.6% unemployment to some number, and I don't know what that number is. I've never actually got a definitive number for Santa Clara County. Let's say it's 9%. Let's say it tripled or even quadrupled to 12%, right? The vast majority of those people that are unemployed in Santa Clara County right now are probably tenants, and being very honest, right? So they're not the homeowners, they're not the property owners. So I don't see it happening here. It will happen in Central Valley. It'll happen in Stockton. It'll happen in Las Vegas. It'll happen in the areas that there's clearly no potential for a quick rebound. I'm not saying we're going to have a V rebound here, but I don't see anything that's I don't see anything that's going to bring REOs to our marketplace at all in the foreseeable future.
Well, that was wonderful, Dave. Thank you so much for that. Would you be willing to share your slides out with us so that we can send it out to the audience?
Yeah, they're available. I don't know I'll send them to Neil, and Neil can distribute them accordingly. And I think this podcast or this video is going to be available as well. So, and by the way, just as a sidelight, someone used my presentation and showed it to a seller. There was $7 million in transactions involved with 3 transactions. And they showed my presentation to the 2 clients involved, and they kept the deal together. That's what you should be using this for. Like I said, I don't make this stuff up, you guys. I'm just telling you what the statistics are there. The Mercury News is not going to report this. Zillow's not going to report this. You're not going to get this out in the public unless you guys share this data. So yes, it's here. Please use it and keep your deals together and make some sales.
Thank you, Dave. That's wonderful. And thank you for all the hard work and sharing the data. Really appreciate it. Good stuff. Good stuff.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, let's, first of all, I want to also take a minute here and welcome everybody to the call. We've got 138 attendees on this call right now, which is phenomenal numbers. And so I want to welcome everybody here. And let me just quickly introduce myself. For those of you who may not know me, my name's Sandy Jamison. I'm the president of the Santa Clara County Association of Realtors. And this next part of our session today, which we've called Keeping It Real, we're going to have a panelist here, and I've got some top producer panelists that we've invited to join us today, and they're going to, I have a series of questions I'm going to ask them, and we're going to talk about what they're doing in their business to keep it real and how to keep up with Corona in these changing times. So I'm really excited to have the honor to be able to moderate this panel today, and I've got a lot of good questions, and I'm of course always very curious, and so I'm ready to get started here. So let me start out by introducing our panelists today. So first off, we've got Lynette Crum and Kraig Constantino. They operate as a team. So Lynette grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. She learned how to run a business from a very young age. Back in 1989, she decided to implement her knowledge and skills to start her own business in real estate. She spent years buying, renovating, and selling her own investment properties and her own personal homes. So she's been both a buyer and a seller many, many times herself. And through her lifelong experiences, her master skills in sales, negotiating, multitasking, and meeting very tight deadlines, she has basically simplified the complex of buying and selling and allowing her clients to focus on what really matters. She's got a proven track record of success and has enabled long-lasting relationships with her clients. She takes extreme pride in helping her clients achieve their goals and aligning herself with their best interests, focus, and understanding their wants and needs. Welcome, Lynette. Next up, we got Kraig Constantino, and Kraig exemplifies integrity, hard work, and the creative service in every detail of the real estate transaction. He is a San Jose native and was fortunate enough to grow up in a real estate family. He continued to follow in his family's footsteps, and he's built a successful real estate career over the past 23 years. He has a broad knowledge of real estate and has allowed him to work on every aspect of the industry, from home sales and purchasing to construction and remodeling of homes. Kraig attended the San Jose State University, where he majored in sociology and minored in psychology. Prior to starting his real estate career in 1996, his passion was in baseball. So this is the part many of you may not know. Kraig was drafted twice by the Cleveland Indians, and he signed with the San Diego Padres after his senior season at San Jose State. He played 5 seasons in the minor leagues, partially with the San Diego Padres. Kraig's heart not only lies with baseball, but with the community and giving back to those in need. He is an active member of the Grievance Committee. He serves on the Santa Clara County Association of Realtors Board of Directors. Thank you very much. And has also served as an ambassador for the Intero Foundation. Kraig prides himself on giving the best service possible to his clients. He believes it's essential to provide a hands-on approach and to stay completely involved in the individual transaction to ensure excellent customer satisfaction. He's passionate and dedicated in every aspect. Welcome, Kraig.
Thanks, Sandy.
All right, next up we have Zaid Hanna. Zaid is the data guy, also known as. Zaid is service-minded and customer-oriented real estate professional who focuses his energy on revitalizing the Bay Area's real estate industry since 2004. Hey, that's the same year as me. In 2014, he decided to form the Hanna Group, a team of determined and like-minded real estate professionals with a desire to serve the Bay Area community. Through dedication, determination, and grit, Zaid used real estate to create financial stability, to grow a successful team, and to help his clients build their wealth. When 2008 financial crisis hit, Zaid, like many others, had to rebuild. He refused to accept defeat, and he continued working on the real estate market through the most challenging housing crisis that the U.S. has ever experienced. Remaining resilient, he chose to use the housing crisis as an opportunity for growth. Zaid dedicated his time to understanding the intricacies of the housing crisis, of the housing market, so that he could provide data-backed advice to home buyers and sellers while pushing past the challenges in his pursuit for success. And as a result, he not only found success and he recovered from the financial crisis, but he also built a thriving real estate team and is recognized as the data guy by his community. So he works full-time both as a team leader and a devoted father of 2. Zaid prioritizes his relationships the most. He's devoted to the people in his life, that what led him to create real estate team with unparalleled customer care. And when he sees problems, he turns them into opportunities for resolution and growth. A very skilled negotiator, a discerning businessman, Zaid uses his unmatched market knowledge, industry experience, and integrity to guide his buyers and sellers through every step of the process. Welcome, Zaid. Awesome. All right, so we're also we were supposed to have Janelle Boyanga on the call with us today. Regretfully, something has come up and she is not able to attend. So we've got the 3 of you for the remaining of the hour, and I wanted to kick it off and start with some questions. What do you say?
Okay.
Sounds
All right,
great.
so I want this to be also open-ended. So we've got our Q&A session. There's a Q&A link on the bottom. I've got a series of questions that I'd like to throw at you, but I think that our our audience may also have some questions, and so I'll be moderating and looking at the Q&A chat board as we go. In case some good questions come in, I might throw those at you as well. So today's topic is keeping it real. And the idea is how are we adapting our business? And when we come across these changing times like this pandemic hit and we're in shelter in place and everybody has to stay home and we've got to retool and revamp, it's all about how have you guys maintained success through that time? So my first question, and I'll start with Lynette and Kraig, tell us about what actions you took in your business immediately after the shelter in place happened? Were there things that you cut back on or doubled down on? What did you do when this happened in order to keep your business going full strong ahead?
I think that for me, it was contact. At that point, I really reached out to people that in my sphere and that I'm dealing with and explained what we're dealing with on our end. It's so fluid and moving all the time. I think the education or what I had to provide to these people, my clients, I think made them feel more comfortable. And I think that's going to help in the long haul for business as well.
And I think the other thing was just helping people stay calm, right? None of us ever experienced this. None of us knew what was coming. None of us really knew or were prepared to handle it. So trying to help people stay calm versus panicking, telling them that we would figure this out day by day, step by step, and just keeping, you know, the communication open was really helpful with the people we were working with.
Good stuff. All right, Zaid, tell us what did you do? How did you change it up?
So the mindset was you either headed into a storm, you're in a storm, or you're coming out of a storm. You're in one of those three. So typically what we within the team, we had to identify, okay, what did we need to do to, one, motivate the team, keep the staff safe, and also looking at it from a business perspective to say, okay, how do we continue for the next 30 to 60 days? We were told 30, then it was 60, and we were essentially halfway through. So obviously you couldn't do the face-to-face. So we went to technology. We depended on technology more. Doing this, we've adapted Google G Suite 4 years ago. So we were doing the video conferencing. We just kind of did more of it this time. So when we look at the production team versus the back office staff, I sent everybody home because we didn't know how bad this was, how bad it was going to spread. So we stepped back and we said, okay, what things can we put in place to keep everybody safe, but yet continue with our business? Because some clients needed to buy. They had to buy because they sold a property, or they have to sell because the trust says so, and so on and so forth. So we continue to call the client, not so much and say, let's go buy a house, but more, here's the data, here's what's really happening, here's what we anticipate, and we'll continue to update you as we go along. So we acted as just being there, right? Being human, because they were freaking out. Everybody was freaking out. Hell, I was freaking out the first couple of weeks. So we kind of, put the blinders on and we said, what does it take to actually go get this done? And we focused more technology and being a source of information to give out to the client.
Yeah, I think that resonates with both of you, being that source of information and that go-to person. That's great. So with that, what changed? Sorry, what is different as a result of this pandemic now? What do you think is going to be here forever as far as some of the changes? And is there anything that you miss about these new changes? And we can go to Zaid and then we'll go to Lynette and Kraig.
I miss seeing people. I'm a people's person. So if Kraig, or whenever he sees me, it's a big hug. Have you ever hugged Kraig before? It's a big hug. Well, you can't do that anymore. So it's hot air fives and doing a lot of this. So that's kind of missed. I got to tell you though, it's becoming a lot more efficient. We were relying on the client to get off work to come and meet them at the office for the consultation. My rule is I am not showing you a home if I'm not doing a presentation, or if I'm doing it just to get to know each other, but we have to meet. That's the company rule we have here. So now we're doing it more via Google Hangouts. That's the software we use. So now we started to see that we're doing it at 1, at 2, at 3, at 4, where they were at work. Now they're actually, taking that hour and meeting with us. So we're becoming more efficient at having these appointments, and it's a lot easier in converting the client to actually meet with us face to face. So I think technology was introduced a while back. You had the early adapters, and now I think the late adapters are going to adapt it. Some of the more I'm stuck in my own ways and I want my offers to be faxed, that's going to change moving forward versus what the technology is bringing. I think streamline of offers coming in, the video virtual open house, right? So I got to see how that's going to catch. But, you know, having more of a standardization of a quality of marketing the property, no longer using this and expecting the house to sell, because you kind of don't have that open house for you to attract the consumer. The consumer is going to judge the home before going into it. So I think the consumer is going to get a lot more sophisticated and watching how this is going to be moving and demanding more technology from the agent.
Absolutely.
So I think one of the biggest things that I miss is community, just being, like Zaid said, being with the people, you know, interacting with all of the great groups that we have, seeing those people face to face. Zoom is amazing. I'm so thankful for all of the platforms we have, but it just doesn't replace that personal interaction. You know, just, it's different. Your body language is different, just the personal touch and the friendships that you make with that. That being said, I think that, again, like Zaid said, maybe there is more time that we can structure now because people are working from home, at least for now, that maybe we don't have to do the evenings and we can have a more set schedule that's still flexible, that meets the client's needs, but maybe the clients also have a bit more time now to also do that because they're working from home. They're not commuting in. They don't have, you know, those times that they're tied to their job because they wake up and they're at their job. So I think it's just a matter of seeing how this plays out. I know that big business has tried this before and they've let people, you know, work from home. Eventually they've pulled them back into the office. I think for quite a while, we'll still see them working from home. But going forward, it'll be interesting to see how that transitions.
Yeah, and same thing for me. I feel like that the relationship-based business that this is going to continue to be. It's just on a different platform and a different level. I've joked because I'd never been on a Zoom call before all this happened, and then all of a sudden I was on 4 a day, 5 a day, and learning how to do Zoom and teaching my clients how to Zoom and all. You know, it's just I'm getting pretty decent at it. So I think that we'll see. Again, I go back to the fact that things are changing rapidly, even at this point, and so it's who can adapt and how can you adapt. You know?
Yeah, definitely. So more efficiency for sure, but we're also missing that human interaction. And so I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to giving all of you a hug next time I see you. So talk to me a little bit about the types of buyers and sellers that are out there right now. What kinds of trends are you seeing with them? What's motivating the people to sell right now? And what are the types of buyers that you're seeing? Are they move-up buyers? Are they relocating out? First-time home buyers? What do you think? We'll start with Lynette and Kraig this time.
I think that we all have different levels of teams, at least on this panel here. And ours is a smaller team that we're working with. I think I'm answering questions from clients, and people are trying to prep their life for what's coming and what's happening. And a lot of people not being at work, having kids at home, needing multiple spaces, all that stuff, and adapting to where we are now. I think that, again, it's very hard to pinpoint, but the questions that I'm getting are wrapped around needing some more space, wanting some more elbow room. Some of my clients that I put into condos back in the day, I don't want to be in a condo any longer. You know, I want to find something else. So that's some of the questions that I'm answering.
Yeah, and I think that we're finding, I mean, in our business at least, we have a balance. We have a balance of sellers. We have some of those sellers are move up. Some of them they had already planned to relocate. And this was just a stall, you know, until we could figure out what was going to happen with the showings of occupied homes. And now that we're kind of reopening, they're feeling comfortable. They need to be able to go somewhere to, you know, find their new home. They couldn't go look at them there, and they couldn't imagine buying them virtually. So, and we're still getting reload clients coming in, which is you know, again, just a sign. You know, we're in a very unique place. Our Bay Area is not like most. And so I think that, again, we had a little bit of interruption, but it really was just a bit. And I feel that we're strong.
Good. What do you say, Zaid?
My turn. So there was this, being the data guy, I'll go back to numbers, slow me down if I need to go over it again. But from big cities, search has increased by 70% of people are actually looking for suburbs, more rural areas, to say, hey, I do not want to live like this anymore. In fact, my job told me, Twitter or other companies, you can indefinitely work from home. So that's kind of changing a concept to a lot of our buyers. What we're seeing right now, anybody that we've had January, February, March, and then there was a drop off in lead count in April and in May. So all the new buyers are kind of looking at it and saying, I want to get more information. Where are we headed? The desire is there, but they're proceeding with caution. So we have to show up, giving them a lot of this information that Dave talked about, but still there's that, are you trying to sell us a house? So I think the people that are moving right now are the folks that have been in the market, just haven't identified a property. They are more specific of what they want. So the new leads that we're getting, and when I say new leads, we're talking about somebody that's been in our ecosystem in the past 2 to 4 weeks versus somebody that's been in the ecosystem for the past 6 months. So the past 6 months are transacting a lot faster because they've seen this go up and come down, and they're seeing it back up again because we did educate them. So there's that trust that goes into it before they say, okay, write me up. Let's go after that house. So when we look at where are they going, we're actually getting more and more people going to Livermore, Pleasanton, Dublin, San Ramon. They're saying I can get a better house, cheaper, with better schools than staying in San Jose. But I think that wave too shall pass because we've seen it 3 times in the past 10 years. It gets hot and then they cool off and they come back to San Jose again because the prices kind of level off. But we're seeing a lot of activity of people that have been in our ecosystem longer.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think that supports what Dave Walsh presented earlier about South County being on fire and the sales really increasing down in South County. South County tends to be a little bit more rural down there, so that would make sense. As people come out of this, they realize, hey, maybe I want a little more space. Let's go look in South County and see what's out there. So, yep, that definitely makes sense. Let's talk about some of the new guidelines that we're dealing with from OSHA and from C.A.R. and from the county health department. And they have the sanitation guidelines. So talk to me a little bit about how are you able to deal with the sanitation requirements when you have a lot of listings? Zaid.
Gosh, I'm telling my sellers, can you leave? Do you have family members that you can go and stay with? That is the best option for an owner-occupied seller. Vacant properties, it's music to my ears whenever I get that call. But of course, leaving those signs on the door, getting the stagers in there after it's cleaned up, doing, I call them welfare checks, but we go and check on the property to make sure it's clean, the booties are not everywhere, wiping off some of the counters and so on and so forth. So in some cases, we're running out of this, the hand sanitizer or the gloves, so the question is, I have 6 listings. Do I leave it at the open houses or do I give it to my staff? So we're just kind of making that decision to say, hey, the buyer's agents can do their own due diligence and we'll just kind of protect ourselves and our clients. So we're just kind of going through every listing is different. If it's vacant, obviously it's a lot easier.
And
Lynette.
I agree with Zaid. Vacant listings are so much easier when we've had occupied listings, especially, things are still selling like Dave said. So for instance, a few weeks ago, I put 2 properties on a Thursday, started immediately getting phone calls, and one of them had 20 showings in 2.5 days. And that was a family of 4 with a dog. And, you're not only trying to make sure that you have a time slot every hour so people aren't overlapping, but you're getting the form. You don't want to give them access information till you have the form because unfortunately not everybody follows the rules. And then making sure that the property's, wiped down in between those times. It's not easy, and it's especially not easy for the families because as much as they say they can handle it and as much as I think we try to describe what it's going to be like, there was also nowhere for them to go. Now that we're opening up again, that might get a little bit easier. But vacant homes and just making sure that you don't leave stuff. At this point, even flyers, everything's virtual, at least on the temporary, so that you don't have stuff laying all over the place.
Yeah, and a lot of people still don't follow the rules. I was laughing with my sister Kristen the other day. She just after we were listed, and he had a table outside the front of the house. I had a buyer that was going to come in, and I watched the family of 5 leave with their dog, jump in the car. She's sitting there, masks and gloves, all signed PEDs, people coming in, and appointments. She was there there was like 18 showings in a row. She had it all detailed out. So it can be done. It's challenging, and it does take time. And to be able to just leave it up to the buyer's agents to do the right thing, I mean, I'd like to know that that's going to happen, but it doesn't always happen.
Right. I guess we all can do the best that we can with given the circumstances, right?
Yep.
I think it's a team effort for sure. I think that the buyer's agents also need to help out with the wiping down as they go, in order to also, help facilitate cleanliness and sanitation, as well as the listing agents. Whenever you have a chance to go out there, wipe everything down. Because let's face it, as a listing agent, it's very difficult to show up behind every single showing and wipe the entire house down. It's just not feasible. So, we do what we can. It's also very difficult, I know, to supply PPE at every listing. I don't know about you, but I've had sellers ask if I can stock face masks and sanitizers and all these things at the listings. And I said, well, if I could actually buy it, I'd be happy to do that. But there's like a 30-day wait list on Amazon. So, it can definitely be a challenge when you have a responsibility to take certain measures, but yet you have trouble sometimes even finding the supplies that you need. So the good news is that C.A.R now has some PPE supplies that we sell at our store for people who need it. So definitely look into that if you are short on PPE supplies. But I know for a while that was a bit of a challenge for many people. Now, Lynette, you mentioned virtual open house a while ago. So let's talk about the virtual open house here for a minute. First question is, are you doing virtual open houses? And if you are, what has been your experience? Are you actually seeing buyers showing up for these virtual open houses? Or is it just agents, or are you kind of just hanging out there all by yourself?
So we've tried. We've only had one that we've tried, and it was in a vacant home. And we went through, posted on the MLS, which is wonderful. The link is there. It was truly a bust. I'm thinking that we will, as this progresses, depending on how things happen, that maybe we'll find better avenues and better ways in order to make them successful. And we're trying to gather that information too, because I think it's useful. Ultimately, the best way is to get people in the house. So if that's something that we can eventually get back to, I think it's best for values, it's best for sales. But right now we're doing what we can to try to figure it out and maneuver through it.
I think we could get senses through the video where you can touch and feel and smell those flowers through Zoom. It'd be a hell of a lot better, but we haven't figured that out yet.
Come on, Zaid.
So Zaid, are you guys doing any virtual open houses on your team?
It's not successful.
So it's more bust than boom.
Yeah.
Is what I'm hearing. Yeah. Okay, well that's good. But as far as virtual meetings go, as far as meeting with clients, what we're hearing is the efficiency gains there are phenomenal. So talk to me about your Zoom conferencing with your clients. Are you taking a more casual approach to that, or are you giving formal presentations and you've got a fancy background? Talk to us about how do you conduct that, let's say, interview process on Zoom? Are you keeping it casual, or are you kind of going through something formal? Start with you, Zaid.
Go ahead, Zaid, yeah.
So I like to be real. Typically, whenever I see a screen in the background, my question is, where are you? Are you prepared for this call, and so on and so forth. So for me, I always like to show the background, so it's always clean, whether it be my office, I'm in the office now, or my home office that It's nicely clean, away from the kids. You can't hear anything. So the goal is to keep the distraction to very low and also keep the background very clean. Now, I like to present slides just like Dave did, and it's multiple pieces. We go over, for example, the MLS search or the comps with the sellers. I like to share my screen, so we do that as well. So we present everything we presented in the past, like Lynette said. So we're not printing, here's the flyer to the house, here's the digital everything. Let me show you, and then I'll get to email it to you after we're done with the conversation.
Yeah, I think that I have a couple different spots that I'd work from, depending on if we're on a board of directors meeting or if we're on a, Doug hit me the other day because he couldn't see me on the video, but I was at home and in a different spot. But anyway, it was, I think that what we've done is same thing, sharing screens, trying to keep it, to give them as much information as possible, keep it short, but yet have some FaceTime with my people, and I think that's what helps.
It also depends on your audience. Not everybody is gonna feel comfortable or capable with, doing it this way. So I always ask the question up front, what are you comfortable with? I'm prepared to social distance, have your mask, have your gloves, have all of those things, which I feel closed off. But if they're more comfortable with that, but if they're technology driven, which so many are, then we can go ahead and do Zoom and still do the same thing. So I think it's the same interaction you would have with anybody on a given day. What do you prefer for your interaction? And starting there to get their comfort level.
So let me ask you, since we're on this topic of, working from home and Zooming, having Zoom client calls. So we've been at it for a while now, for a couple of months. Now, a lot of realtors didn't have a home office set up, but they would go into the office and work from their office, their physical office. Now, what advice do you have to those folks who are trying to, figure out how to work remote when they have all these distractions, dogs barking and kids running around and maybe a messy house in the background and not a good setup? What kind of advice do you have to those individuals?
Schedule the timing, correctly, I guess I would say, because some people don't have a large home, they have a one bedroom, whatever it may be, and I schedule the time that works in your schedule. For me, it's a little easier. I have a bedroom upstairs and one downstairs, and I don't have children at home, so it's a little easier for me. The distractions are a bit less.
I think, like Kraig said, working around their schedule, they're already under enough stress, and then they're trying to talk about buying or selling. So figuring out again what their timeline, what's the best, working around that. And ultimately, a lot of times the reason they want to talk is they want to get out of their small space. So, to move to something bigger.
I think, Sandy, most of the offices are open now, so you can actually go in the office if you really need to have that appointment. So that's one. Two, you could use your car. You can step outside, have the meeting in the car, just make sure your car is clean. Obviously, if you don't have the room in the home, you can go in the backyard. So there are so many ways you can actually hold it. Go down the street to a park. Nobody's supposed to be in the parks anyway. So make sure you get Wi-Fi. Don't let that stop you to get in front of the client. So and if you have kids in the home and you have a barking dog and that parrot won't shut up, right? Just apologize up front and say, I am so sorry. My family's so loud. So here I am. I'm committed to this appointment and I'm going to make it right now. So that shouldn't really stop you from actually having the appointment. But usually cars is a pretty good spot to go to.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about your businesses right now. So let's start with you, Zaid. What is the biggest challenge that you're facing with your business or with your team at the moment?
Forecasting sucks. So how do you prepare for it from a standpoint of employees to kind of getting everybody going from the sales team to the back staff? So the biggest challenge right now, we're writing a contract, and no pun intended to any banks, but they're constantly changing their guidelines. What was approved Now it's no longer approved. This buyer has to come up with $1 million more in down payment for us to close the deal. Luckily, he had it. So these things are actually coming across. Things are kind of, the dust is settling a little bit. It's the good news, but we're not meeting deadlines. And I don't like that, because whenever we write an offer on the property, I'm telling the listing agent, look, we're going to do this. And being on the listing side, we're getting these offers and we're asking the hard questions, and even the loan officers are not so sure, because now some of the banks have been rejecting refis for about 90 days. They have 30 days to actually come through with that. So their guidelines are, their processing time is lagged a little bit. So that's been a little bit of frustration. We've had some amazing agents on the other side that do understand it, and we've had some agents where they cannot guide the client and telling them, look, we're in bad times. We're all in it together. We don't need to issue a notice to perform. You should not be issuing a notice to perform unless it's the last thing to do right now. So, we're running into these issues, and it's a little frustrating.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, as long as the communication is there. Zaid and I, we just had one. It was the exact same scenario, right? It rolled over and you handled it, and we just worked it together, which was awesome.
The stocks were going down while we're doing the transactions, right?
We pulled it back together, though, Zaid.
Yeah.
So, and as far as the team side of things go, I think that the challenge for me is that we don't have the size teams that either of you have, but we're building that way. And, without open houses and without things like that to help these young guys move along and find their business, we're trying to look to where to put our marketing dollar and where to focus for the next amount of marketing that we're going to spend, and what we're doing and what direction we're headed in to try to continue to have business coming in the door to help support these young guys.
So talk to me a little bit. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just the communication, even with scheduling of, team meetings and things like that. Sometimes it's hard to keep those commitments because of all the other overlapping things that may come into play, whether it's family or health or whatever. And so, again, it comes down to that personal interaction that we used to have within the office and seeing each other.
Yeah. So now that we're talking about our teams a little bit, talk to me a little bit about your team structure. How big is your team? How do you leverage people on your team to get things done? And what are you doing to keep the team motivated at times like this?
Again, team size is different than what you're dealing with, and we're just getting started. We haven't been together that long as a team, but we're building in that direction, or we're planning to. As far as delegating work, it's become difficult in the beginning. We didn't have a structure to exactly how many meetings we were going to have in a week. I know, Zaid, you guys sit everybody down and you talk it through, but we have a couple younger people with us that need direction, and I need to do a better job at making sure they're getting direction. So it's been a little challenging in the beginning, but we're making some strides to make some changes.
And I think we're all learning through this, right? We're learning where the strengths are. We're learning more of our strengths and more of our weaknesses, and just being able to be real and understand that people have all this stuff going on outside of, our jobs. Appreciating that, but yet trying to keep us all moving forward, so that we can, continue on with the great market that we're in.
What about you, Zaid?
So I have a team of 12, including myself, 5 office staff and 6 sales team. So the two are served completely differently. The office is more, how can we keep it clean? How can we keep our distance? Because they're coming in the office now. They were working from home. I sent them with the computers, but now they're back working from the office. So it's more caring for them and having the environment in the office to be safe and clean, and they could see each other so the energy gets going, versus being at home where, the dog and the parrot and everybody and their mother's yelling at them, right? So now they're in the office, they're focused. In terms of the sales team, so they know this, and I always say it out loud, it's like herding cats. I'm big on DISC personality assessment, so most of my team are ISs, and if you know anything about I's, they're social butterflies. So guiding social butterflies is a challenge in itself, but how do you continue to motivate them when the times are hard? So I say the 6 inches between those ears is the toughest part. So we always focus on mindset, what's working, because I'm actually in production. So any issues that I see, I take it on Monday and I tell them, okay, the topic this week is X. Here's the script. Here's how I want you to role play, and this is what I want you to do. So the assignment is given to them and they have to turn in a homework on Sunday night or Monday morning. So the accountability is also very, very high. So they see me do it, I'm in it, and we have to meet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no exceptions. I don't care, I know everything I need to know about their life, so they can't lie to me and say, I got this or I got that, I'm calling them out. So the accountability is really, really high. So when we talk about the data, I try to pass on the data to them. So as Dave is passing it on to us, we do the same thing within the team to get them talking to everybody, to make sure that, you know, we're staying politically free from everything that's happening, telling them stay neutral on Facebook, doing everything that literally seeing an issue and guiding them through that may possibly affect their business and kind of guiding them through that process. I don't know if I gave you too much, but that's kind of what we do.
No, I think that was great. Yeah, I think I can share that sentiment. You know, definitely trying to keep that team motivated and holding the accountability. And, you know, at the end of the day, if they're not stepping up to the opportunities that are right in front of them, then we can find, you know, a few more people who are willing to out there, because there's definitely opportunities and there's a lot of folks out there who would love to have them. So
what's your team size? How many people do you have on your team?
So I have 10 agents and 5 assistants on my team. Yep. And so, you know, when we talk about opportunities, talk to me a little bit about where do you find most of your opportunities? What are your best strategies? I know repeat referral business is always, you know, at the top of the list, but aside from repeat and referral business, where do you get new business, like new random clients? How do they come to you? How are you marketing, and how are you attracting those individuals to you? We'll start with Kraig and Lynette.
So we've worked with Chicago Title and a couple different, you know, our reps there trying to find different marketing patterns. Again, I've been in the business a long time, but didn't do much marketing ever, right? And I just would work Sphere. Now at this point in time, we've decided together as a team, we've decided to pick a couple areas, start to market to them and be consistent with it, which again, before it was always a coming soon or a just sold or a hit and miss. Now we're starting to be more focused on our marketing approach and you know, we picked up Real Geeks, CRM scenario, which I didn't have all this ahead of time. I used to be the solo agent, right? And I just kind of do my own business, but now it's a different focus and I appreciate it. I think it's actually being with somebody and working with somebody to build something better, I think has been good for me, so.
And I think that with what Kraig said, I think that what we're trying to do is not only, because both of us have always really independently just run from our sphere. And so we were fortunate enough to be able to do that, born and raised here. But what we're trying to not only do for ourselves and for our team, but to teach the newer people on our team is that you have resources. You can go to Chicago Title. You can go to, you know, our platforms that we have and pull from those in order to get databases, in order to start farming. Obviously, this past few short months has been a little bit different. You're not going to go door knocking. You're not going to be dropping flyers. But there's other ways to reach out and still touch these people to keep your market going so that we can, you know, there's plenty of people out there that just want to know what's going on. The Bay Area is rich in real estate, and that's one of their biggest investments. So people want to talk. You just have to find them.
So you've recently implemented a CRM, and now you're starting to do some farming of some different areas. And are you doing mostly farming by mail or by phone? You can't door knock anymore.
We're doing by mail. We were starting to door knock too, but obviously that's closed for a little while here out of respect. But definitely the mailing and just keeping with it, it's not something that's going to pay off in the first few months. If you think it is, you shouldn't even invest in it.
Okay. All right, Zaid, what about you and your team? I know you have a lot going on. Tell us about some of your strategies.
So you said don't go into repeat business. That's about 55% of my business. It's repeat. I can go more in detail as to what that entails, but to focus on new business, all the social media accounts, all the Zillow account. I don't pay for Zillow. I'm not a Premier agent, but the account is free for you. Go ahead and complete that and actually claim all your past sales. Let the people find you. Right now, once a week, I publish market update videos, and it goes out to my database. It goes out to the social networking. We boost it. So trying to reach out more people, since we can't do this, we're doing it on a digital level. It is so much cheaper to do it. Now, is that going to bring a listing or a buyer right away? No, but over time it will. So from a digital side, that has been successful. Obviously, partner up, no matter where you're at. You could reach out to agents that are outside your area as to see where the Bay Area people moving to, whether it's Austin or North Carolina or Sacramento, and partner up with some agents. They may actually send you some referrals, right? So that's another source of business. But going back to what we've seen a lot, condo, townhouse, move up, buyer, seller. So 2 transactions, possibly 3 if you have a buyer for that listing from a lot of this move up, quite a bit of move up.
Okay, so you must have a fairly sizable database, and it sounds like you're doing a lot of marketing to that database. Would that be fair?
So without mentioning any title reps, no, Kraig, don't hit me.
Put the gloves down, Zaid.
I'm staying neutral here. But I was given some data to say that my retention rate, when you come to my ecosystem, it's 94%. NAR says 70% of buyers and sellers don't even know they're realtors. In fact, a lot of them said, I'd rather go through a root canal. Mine is 94. So going back to that, actually go back to that right now. They need you more than ever. Mm-hmm. Send birthday cards with Starbucks, $5 Starbucks cards in them. They still can go to Starbucks. If you don't like Starbucks, go to Pete. If they don't like Pete, I don't care. Go Jamba Juice. I don't care where they go. If we send them anniversary gifts. If you buy with me a year later, you're getting this house anniversary. We show up to the door, drop it off, say hello, and we leave. So just to get that, Lynette, that connection that we still need. Like humans need to see each other. We're going mad inside our houses. So we're pushing the team to say, hey, let's double down on what actually worked, because we need it more than ever right now. So that database is very important. We used to throw 2 to 4 sizable events for our clients. Obviously, we can't do that right now. So we're just focusing on gifting, delivering stuff to their house more than anything else.
So it sounds like you both have a database, as I would expect. Every top producer I know has a database and a system by which they run their business off of. And it sounds like, Kraig, you guys are recently implemented something. Tell me a little bit about how that has changed your business and if that's become pivotal for you.
Well, we're seeing some changes now as we're implementing, and we have Stephanie helping us with continuing to fill our databases and going back through old things and refreshing it all the time. I think I don't know, it's going to take a little time before we see the benefit of that, but I think that again, when I got in the business 24 years ago now, I really wish I would have been more focused on the database side of things. So anybody that's listening there, I worked the sphere and I'd stay with people that I was, but in the beginning we touched so many people and I didn't capture those people or even continue to do what I should have done. And so I'm making up ground now, but if you're newer and you're watching us now, that's the one thing I would definitely be focused on is getting people into some sort of a system and getting out there and saying something, talking about this. Use Dave's presentation that he just had. That was phenomenal, Dave, and what great information, and it came across passionate because it was education. And I think that's another thing that I'm learning, and always still learning, right? A long time in the business, but I'm learning. And I think I can use these things to help my clients.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think Kraig and I are probably from the wrong mindset. We've been very successful with it. But if you can, like Zaid said, herding cats, right? Thank God for Stephanie. She's like putting all of our structures in place, and we're definitely streamlining everything, which is wonderful. But that being said, you know, if you're starting off, that is definitely something you should do. Start from day one. Have your people in a place, have them organized, be reaching out. You know, your referral repeat business will start so much sooner if you start day one being organized and using the resources that you have around you. You have people and an organization, you have C.A.R, that have so much good data. Don't be afraid to ask.
So Zaid, I know you must have a pretty sophisticated system. I know you do. So talk to us a little bit about some of the unique things you're doing with your system, how you connect with your database of clients, and talk to us a little bit more about what you're doubling down on, and if there's anything that you've decided to just discontinue altogether.
So the system has been there for some time. We went cloud 4 years ago once the team was put together, because we figured very quickly that your broker will try to help you as much as they can with what they know about our industry in the past 30 years. As we're changing in this whole new team model and people are adapting it more and more and more, it's becoming more sophisticated. So unfortunately, we have to go outside and hire coaches that have figured this out, agents that have figured this out, invested a ton of money into it, and then trying to roll it out. Again, implementation is the hardest part. I mean, we have so many ideas. So I would say if you're a new agent or agent that's trying to get back into it, you have this phone, and depending on your likability, if you don't have 100 contacts, you're probably in the wrong industry. So I don't mean to sound so cutthroat. By the way, if you're mine, I love you. Kraig can vouch to that. But I always ask myself, how can I lead a team? What qualifies me to lead a team? So a leader always has to be tough. So, but when you fall, I'm going to pick you up. But you have to do these things. So I sit down with everyone. I think everyone should go back to their broker and say, here's my personality. Here's where I enjoy doing. What are the things that I need to implement? And pick 4, pick 3. You don't need 20. I'm at 20 today because it took me 15 years in the industry and really the past 7 to 8 years to, again, hire consultants and coaches, and for me to implement one after the other, 5 staff to say, I don't touch marketing anymore. I record the video, she finalizes the video for me and posts it. I don't touch it anymore. So to get to that level, you have to put a lot of systems in place. So to give you specifics, download this and categorize them. The Buffini program, A, B, C, D. D is the lead, by the way. Get rid of some of these toxic people in your life. So that's, I would say, that's one of them. Be active in social media and give value. So I try during this call to give you as much value as I can. I don't know this 110 people that I see as participant. Hopefully I know some of you, but my goal is to give you as much value as possible by the time this call ends. Be that to your ecosystem, whatever that may be. Zoom, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, ClickClock, whatever you're into today, do it on all platforms. You recorded the video anyway, just do it. So do it with more care. Care for your community, go out there and do stuff, go feed the homeless, go build that little house community, go do all of that, right? It goes such ways that your people are watching, right? So that's, be of value on social media, and of course, talk about stats. My thing is I'm the data guy. You don't have to be the data guy. You could be the bird guy. You could be the dog guy. I don't care what you, just be something, be out there and give value. Pick a farm and continue to farm it. Don't go too big, no more than 200 to 300 until you get some returns so you can invest back into your business. And reach out to top producers and say, how can I help you? Because believe it or not, some of the top producers still don't want to work with buyers. They don't have a team, right? They may give you that buyer, give them 25% referral fee. And if all else fails, join a team. We figured it out. That's not a recruiting session. I just want to.
That's great. They'd love it. So you touched on coaching a little bit. Talk to us a little bit. Are you part of a coaching program? Are more than one? Which ones? Have you found them to be valuable to your business? Do you recommend it for other realtors? What do you have to say for coaching?
I will name some of these organizations because they have helped me. I start with Brian Buffini when I started early. And naturally, I grew that because he didn't preach teams. Then I went to the core. The core, all they do is preach teams. They'll show you systems and checklists and everything you need to know on how to build a team. I grew that too. And then while I was at the core, I joined Tony Robbins because again, I had to work on the 6 inches here because now I'm successful. How do I balance home and work? Because I'm a workaholic. If you know me, I'll work 16-hour days. So I have 2 boys, 3 and a 5-year-old, and I'm really close to my family. My wife, she's actually my operations manager. Without her, I think the business will fall apart. So she's our glue here at the team. But going back to how do I balance that? So Brian, Tony Robbins has helped, not necessarily him, but his organization. And right now I'm following Tom Ferry because he's big on technology, right? What's working right now? What can you do right now? It's Tom Ferry. So those are the 4.
Those are your 4. What about you, Kraig?
I think we follow a bit of a Buffini model as far as I haven't done a lot of it. And again, being kind of a lone ranger for so long, I did grow up in a real estate family, as we spoke before. So I had big shoes to fill with my mom and both my sister. They helped me a lot at understanding what the client needs and what your focus needs to be. And it's not a check, it's not money. It's making sure your people are happy and taking care of your clients. And I've always followed that, and I appreciate that advice from them.
All the way, it's always about relationships, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So we probably only have time for a couple more questions here because we're actually at 2:30 now. So if you guys have a couple more minutes here, let's hit a couple more, and then we'll wrap this up because I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So you guys are very successful, and one of the things that realtors struggle with is a retirement plan or an exit strategy. Do you have an exit strategy, or are you going to be one of those realtors that works till your death and never retires? How are you going to someday gracefully exit and enjoy retirement life?
I'll start. I think that my focus. Again, we've been talking about this team scenario, and we've talked about it now. We've known each other a long time, and if we can build, it doesn't need to be a massive team, but something that can handle the flow of business that we have, and we'd be able to step back a little bit. I've always focused on my own personal retirement accounts, and yes, but if anybody's asking or wondering out there if that's where you're headed with this, and again, real estate wise, and the acquisition, owning properties and owning doors and managing those, that's kind of been my focus, knowing that Social Security and all that other stuff's not going to be there for me, and so that's been my focus.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think that it's always having a different pots that you're picking from, so not everything's in one. Looking forward again, wanting to, do you ever fully retire from real estate if you're really passionate about it? But definitely stepping back significantly and maybe having the team be able to pick that up. That's a portion of where the retirement comes from. And then your investments, still, keeping in with your investment properties if you're able to also have that too, and manage those. So just having again, a good, well-balanced portfolio, I think, is super important.
Good insights. What about you, Zaid?
I constantly struggle with the thought of, are we business owners or are we professional athletes? Professional athlete, Kraig, you've been one. You break an arm, you break a leg, you're out, right? We get sick, we're out. We have a team of 12. Who's going to lead the team? So we are professional athletes. We're not the owner of the 49ers or the Giants or the Raiders or whoever you're into. So as we built this team to help you sustain, I mean, honestly, some of the top agents locally in the Valley, we make more money than doctors and lawyers, and some of us didn't even go to school, right? So I have a marketing degree from San Jose State, but I don't think that matters at this point, just because real estate prices are so high here. So how do you take that and systematically drive it for the next 10 to 15 years? I'm big on make a lot of money and save it. Have fun, right? Work less hours so we can enjoy the money you're making. So don't, if you want to go buy a plane, go get your license, but have the team around you so you could actually enjoy what you're doing, so you could do it longer. Because once you start performing at a very high level, by the way, all you do all day is put out fires. I promise you that. Get to 15 to 20 units a month. All you do all day is put out fires. They're going to come at you. You're the rainmaker. So how do you systematically do that? You got to put an amazing team around you. Again, I have that. I love my team, but at the same time, you got to save. So when these hard times come, you can actually run your business without worrying. You can advise your clients whether they need to sell right now or not based on your commission, as Lynette referred to it. You got to care for the client. So you got to take care of yourself first, put on the mask first before you can put on their masks. So save, 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 save. Mm-hmm. And stockpile your cash. Fun times to be in.
Save and stockpile the cash.
Yes.
All right, so one last question for you, and then we'll wrap this up. So if you're a starving agent and you don't have a lot of cash right now, let's say you've got $1,000 to your name, you need to make a living, you've got 30 days, no database. How do you build yourself up from there? What advice do you have for realtors? How do they get started on that? Zaid.
Your cell phone, again, you got to have 100 contacts in your phone. If you're young and you say my database is small, you'll be surprised they have parents. They may want to sell. So download your database, categorize them, call them. So I like to call my database between 3 to 6 months, depending on the database. So some of my agents, I get them to call every 3 months, and they show up with gifts and they connect with the database. So that's one. Again, pick a farm and farm it twice a month in the beginning until they get to see you and know you more. Unfortunately, you can't put your A-frames in the streets. But what can you do? Get on the social media, pick that specific farm, and then start talking Dave Walsh's data. Now you're becoming the area expert. Overnight, talk about fake it until you make it. That's one way to do it. Again, reach out to top producers, ask them if they need help, see if they have a team first. Typically, top producers, when we don't give out anything, guys, we give it to our team. There's a reason why we don't give it out. So please don't hate us for any reason other than like we feed our people first. So, find someone that doesn't have a team that may be able to give you some business. And then again, if all else fails, find a team.
Great ideas. What about you, Lynette and Kraig?
I just echo what Zaid just said. I mean, again, if you're not from here, I mean, everybody, again, you're out in the public eventually again, and we're out more. Everybody wants to talk about real estate. You have your card, you start talking, you're in line somewhere, you start talking. The Bay Area wants to talk about it, whether they're owning currently, whether they're gonna own, maybe they're just new here. You never know who you're gonna come across that all of a sudden that day, just because you said you're in real estate. So talk it up. If you are from here, then great, you've already got a base. You just start with your phone. You start with everybody in there, just letting them know. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And then go back to, again, using your resources with your title company, getting farms, and start walking those and letting them see your face. It's great to have people out there doing it for you. But when you're new, that personal interaction is really going to go a long way.
Yeah, if it were a different marketplace, I'd say make sure you're pounding the open houses, taking everything you can, get in there, meeting people. But it's all about the engagement of it, right? Talking about real estate, just as you guys are all saying. I saw a quote the other day that said, successful sales agents learn how to ask better questions, and as a result, they get better results. So to me, I think, again, it goes back to what both of them just said, which is, become the expert, right? Talk about it. Talk about Dave's numbers. Talk about what Zaid, the data that he has. Learn something about somewhere and preach it. So.
Good stuff, guys. Well, that's right on. I think that relationships, being that data expert, and putting the time in to engage with people is going to be probably the #1 thing that people can do. And today, I think that we were blessed. We had Dave Walsh on the call. Thank you, Dave, for joining us today and for all that great data. So we're going to get a copy of that data and we're going to send it out to everybody so that you have it and become that expert use it, speak to it, and know it, and use it to your advantage. And Lynette and Kraig, I want to thank you both for tuning in today and joining us. It was great having you. And Zaid, as always, it was wonderful. I really enjoyed talking with you. And I appreciate all of you today, and I really appreciate the honor to be able to lead this discussion today. And I want to thank all the attendees today for tuning in and giving us an hour. And I hope that this was informative for all of you. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that this was worthwhile and gave you some value add. So with that, I want to say thank you to everybody for your participation, and God bless. I hope you guys all have a awesome weekend. And should any questions come up from anybody, don't hesitate to send them in, and we'll make sure to send them out to everybody. So again, have an awesome day.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you
Sandy.
guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye, Zaid.
You too. Bye-bye.
See you, Zaid.
Later, buddy.